Is it just me or there's just too many phone gimbals now? But I guess it still goes hand in hand with the amount of phones coming out in recent years that have highly been investing on their camera advancements too. So it's only logical if some brands come up with their own take at a gimbal. They call it the Insta360 Flow. And I kinda get it. Take the iPhone 14 Pro with action mode, for instance, or even the latest Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. The stabilization in those phones were impressive on its own without any external help, especially with that action mode. I remember testing it for the first time when it first came out last year with these iPhone 14 Pros. And at first, it sounded more like a gimmick, but after taking my first run with it, it just blew me away. They weren't kidding around with their EIS. To me, most EIS have been quite terrible, but Apple managed to do it really well, albeit it only records up to 2.7K. Yet, here we are with another phone gimbal, but by Insta360. And if I'm really honest, it's a hit and miss. Don't get me wrong, this design took me quite a while for me to understand why it was built in such a way. But the pros, this is actually pocketable. They definitely made portability to be at its highest priorities and somewhat achieved it. And why would I believe to think so? Well, unlike screw-on tripods, such as the ones you get on the DJI OM6 or OM5 or mostly any other phone gimbal, this has a built-in tripod. And is it just me, or it's slightly ugly when it's folded up? I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I can still admire some of the craft put into this transparent design on the main arm. It really does bring some of that sci-fi element and the minimalistic aspects dripping all over. It also comes in gray, but I think this white color matches a little more to the feel that they're going with. And take a look at this. It seems that the battery is within the arm itself. This is a 2,900 milliamp hour battery that can also charge your phone while recording, which thankfully they included the wires too, alongside some exposed circuit boards. And here's something little interesting, a cold shoe mount by its own little transparent door, so you could attach accessories such as a mic or light. And if we were to take a look at the control panel, it's again kept very minimal via this smart wheel, as they call it, and essentially removes the need for two-handed use by incorporating the zoom function into this bezel on the outside, which also acts as a tilt control in FPV mode, and having the touch pad on the inside that responds to gestures by swiping down clockwise for switching between modes, while the power switch, orientation, and record buttons remain as the primary three. Even the joystick is kept very flush, knowing how when this is folded, it tucks in just nicely behind the main arm. And thanks to the battery placed within the arm, the hand grip is much shorter than most gimbals, but I must say it really feels weird without the rubber grip. But it also opens up the chance to install a retracting tripod inside the handle, which is possible thanks to this dual step extension, which also feels very, very flimsy. And I'm not even exaggerating when I'm saying that. Setting this on a table with just the weight of the iPhone 14 Pro, which doesn't really weigh much when compared to other Androids, and yet it really looks like it could break or bend easily if I were to happen to set it slightly rougher than normal. In other words, some reinforcements could really be done here, and probably the biggest con out of this whole design. It was the right idea, but it would need more improvements in the next version if they plan to continue making them. I just hope this kind of feedback would actually take some effect, because this really feels cheap. But when it's in use, the little quirky design aspects just goes away and it performs like a gimbal should, and to some degree, dare I say, better than the DJI. Just like the OM6, this also comes with a retractable extension rod that extends up to 250 millimeters, as well as the adjustable tilt that helped me position the phone correctly for most of these footage examples taken at yet another car event. Some of these cars were very low to the ground, and having the arm reach to a lower angle to where I was satisfied, it surprisingly still kept most of my footsteps very clean from the up and down motion, or also known as the Z-axis. But these results could be aided by the iPhone's OIS, but I'll give credit to where it's due for giving me the confidence to operate this with very minimal input. And to me, regardless of how you design this, it's always going to boil down as to how much confidence tools like these would actually give you, and I'd say it lived up to the standards ergonomically. But of course, further control and features wouldn't be possible without good software, and I appreciate how it's all integrated within the Insta360 app. This is still in beta version, and I had to run it with test flight in order to get it to work, but I could still pair it with my other Insta360 devices too. That's just probably a little complaint I have as to how DJI sends their beta apps having download separate ones every time a new one comes out. Anyways, Deep Track 3.0 is also brought forward here, which performs slightly better than DJI's Active Track in some areas. It's something about the way the AI recognizes subjects better and automatically frames the subject with a little more finesse and smoothness. It just feels just a tad bit sharper than how the DJI does theirs. I would say it's a minor win for Insta360 for achieving this, as DJI has probably have all of the amount of years behind them with their drones, gimbals, camera accessories to excel in something like subject tracking. But I have to remind you that I'm only referring to the active track I experienced on the OM6, because I'm not about to say that Insta360 is pulling away in any way, except for 360 angles, of course. It wouldn't be complete if they didn't include some 360 goodness into this thing. Inside the panel photo mode, you get to choose between 3x3, which is essentially a super wide angle. Then you have the 180 degrees, and the last one, which lets you capture a 360 degree image all with your phone. But you do have to clamp this the other way around to have the rear cameras placed towards you to do this. But I would say that's just a really smart idea of them for incorporating all of that 360 data from previous 360 cameras in order to stitch photos like these so cleanly. There's also widescreen mode, which simulates a 21:9 aspect ratio, and I love how it was just a match made in heaven for what I was shooting last weekend. Other familiar features like time shift, where you can speed up recording times up to 5x, and time-lapse mode that you can keyframe to up to 4 points, which I find to be such an efficient way to capture more of your environment instead of just the basic left to right pans. There's even a live mode function where streamers can just prop this on their desktops and have it interact with your preferred streaming sites, but I didn't get around to test this, and I'll just leave it to other channels out there who might have better experience in live streams than I do. So if you're wondering how much all of this costs, well, it's priced exactly as the DJI OM6, which goes for $159. I mean, is that a slap to the face or what? Like, hey, we made our first gimbal and we're gonna price it exactly the same as yours. I mean, nothing like stiff competition, I guess. Runtime was about 11 to 12 hours as suggested, and takes about 2 hours to fully charge. It would be much less if you have it powering your phone too, and maybe it might take in some power if you have this spotlight attached, and it's powered by the outer clamp. Yeah, there's an outlet there, They do include this in the box if you get the creator kit for an extra $50, which will include accessories to be announced once this video comes out. Insta360 actually had plans to release this a few months ago, but they scrapped the release date to improve a few more things before they gave it out to us as a first impression. And I tend to look at brands who actually care about their products. There's something about how Insta360 reaches out to creators to build something more unique. By taking your audience and feedback seriously while practicing the, if you can't improve, innovate. It's a bold way to carry your brand, and I can definitely stand behind those values too. Obviously, there's nothing immensely innovative about a phone gimbal, but I'm glad they did it in their own way, despite being late to the game. They really took their time and did something different, which is very commendable in my books. I also have a list of phones this gimbal can actually be paired to. I'll throw it up on the screen so you can check if your phone can be compatible with this. But yeah, that's mostly my review and my experience with the Insta360 Flow. I'll leave more links down below for you to check this out on their site. And yeah, this was quite promising. I didn't actually like the gimbal at first when I was using it, but after a whole day shooting cars with this, yeah, it was quite fun to use. And it's, again, very, very pocketable. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.